From the 15th to the 17th of September 2013, the South African Water Cookers held its biannual general meeting in St. Lucia, KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. The SAWC is a network of several civil society and non-profit organizations dealing with different water issues. The mission of the cookers is to provide a platform for activists to connect, to inform themselves, to discuss and to share water-related issues. In the meeting in 2013, 38 delegates from several provinces of South Africa took part in the meeting. During the 3 days, the delegates discussed water issues such as the impact of mining, fracking and industrial timber plantations on water availability and quality, water and wetlands, and water and climate change.
I think it's necessary to get around like we are now, to be able to share experiences, to learn from each other, meet new people, and discuss potential new activities and forge new relationships for into the future, thus becoming a lot stronger. So yeah, it's far away, up in the north of KZN. So thanks a lot to everybody that put their time and their effort in to attend this meeting and to be part of this. Thanks, and I think we'll hand over to Tabang at this stage. He'll give us some direction as to the rest of the morning's proceedings.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we have to deal with in our preparations towards this. Myself and Owen, we did design a program, not a very specific program. So the first thing that we have to do is to work through that program and identify the work that we have to do. But maybe for starters, we need to do some introductions, and get to know each other.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Wally Meni, with an organization called Timber Watch. Timber Watch is a coalition of NGOs throughout Southern Africa, and we focus our attention on the problem of timber plantations and the pulp process, the pulp mills and other timber processing activities that impact on the natural environment and local communities. I'm here today is to share information with people who might have similar issues in their areas, and also to learn about what is happening in other parts of the region.
My name is Sandy Zwane. I work for GSP in Swaziland. I'm a coordinator in Swaziland for GSP. We are here on the invitation by GSP to learn more about water issues and also learn more about the South African water cookers.
My name is Fanny Mashabo from Bushbuckridge. I'm a chairperson of traditional dealers in Southern District Municipality. So what I'm doing is we have started to clean the river at Bushbuckridge from 2010, once a month in the 13th of March. But this year already we started on the 13th of March until the 7th of August. We clean every 3 days a week. This is what we're doing now. But here I'm here to learn more about what resources we can use to pressure our community or our municipality to intervene in this river cleaning campaigns.
Willie Lewater, Mabuya Land Rights Movement, Western Cape. What we basically do is we deal with land issues and we help with food security programs within the rural areas. We are comprised of about 12 areas at the moment in the Western Cape. What else? I guess like everyone else, I came to network and learn more about what the others do in their respective areas.
Hello everybody, my name is Melita Steele and I work for an organization called Greenpeace Africa. which is an environmental campaigning organization. I work specifically on climate change and energy issues, more specifically on coal issues. And this is my very first water caucus, so I'm looking forward to learning a lot from what has happened before and how we can go forward, but also to hopefully share some of my work and talk about how the issues of energy and water are very much linked. Thank you.
I'm Philip Owen from Mpumalanga. I've been fortunate to have been involved with the Water Caucus since its inception in 2002, the year just before the World Summit on Sustainable Development. I'm here also to learn about the different issues that people are struggling with around the country and around the regions, and to share. Our organization specifically is also more involved in impacts of timber plantations and also the impacts of mining, especially coal mining. But we started out as an organization which focused on impacts of timber on our natural and social environment. That was back in 1999. I've known Wally. I think Wally I've known the longest of all the people here. He was also partly the reason why we started off back then organizing meetings and stuff. I think it's really important opportunity for us all to be together here, especially to strengthen the Water Caucus, to make sure that the Water Caucus is because it can be so much more than what it is, and it can really be a strong vehicle and a good lever. We've already got a lot of legitimacy with the government in our province. With the Mpumalanga Water Caucus, we are regularly engaged with by the government, and we engage them quite regularly. And I think that's really positive. I'm also happy that there's a couple of people from Swaziland here, because Swaziland is not so far from here, so it was easier for them to attend. And we have been discussing with Zandile and a couple of his colleagues in Swaziland the idea of a similar kind of structure, a water caucus, which is sort of a loose network, organizations involved in the water sector. As you know, we share many rivers with Swaziland, and we are living here in the south of Africa. So some of our struggles and issues are linked, and it needs a little bit more working together on some issues. Thanks.
Now I just want to go through the expectations that people have shared with us. There's a lot of stuff about learning from each other. Now that we have to go back to our program and make sure that that learning process does happen here, because many people want to learn. And there's also an issue around how to work with municipalities. Now it might be around the rivers, or it might be around water service, it might be around any other issue that different communities are struggling with. Also, there's issues, so we must have some discussion around how we are going to be organizing at local levels. We need to share the experiences for those that have been engaging with the municipalities. They need to share with us so that we can learn and see how then do we do that. And then there's also an issue around the organizational form, the South African Water Caucus. How do we strengthen it as a vehicle to take forward this learning process and this mobilization at local levels. And then there's also something about meeting new people and socializing and getting to know each other. Now, I'm coming back now to the aims that we have outlined. These are the proposed aims for the two-day process. One is to share reports on provincial programs, campaigns and areas of work. So we need to have reports from all the provincial coordinators. If not from the provincial coordinators, at least someone from your province, including Swaziland, have to give us a short report, maybe not more than 15 minutes, or just a very brief report in terms of what areas of work have you been involved with, in which municipalities, how have you engaged municipalities, and what achievements have you managed, and then you can tell us about any other stuff that is happening. But we'd love to, in regard to provincial reports, we'd love to capture the work that here specifically happened at municipal levels. We can talk, of course, about your engagements with the regional offices and the national DOA and so on, but we want the specific working in specific communities. So that's very important. So that's where we can learn. That's learning, because we'll be learning from you, Comrade Mashaba, in terms of what have you done, in those cleanups in that particular river, and how the municipality have responded. Why are you sounding so frustrated and wanting to put pressure on municipalities? And how can we learn from that experience and build from there? And then we are talking as well about building a coherent organization and some form of solidarity between our own communities. Having learned from what we are doing and how we are struggling, now we need to be talking about the organizational form. So we have to talk about how we build in our communities, in our provinces and municipalities. One thing that I'm living here is that the areas of work that there are campaigns that the South African Water Caucus have been running, or in a way. So we want to hear, if there's anything the National Water Resource Strategy, they will share with us how that process unfolded and where is it now and all that kind of stuff and what is expected from us. If we are talking about the catchment management agencies, so that's all what comes here. But here we're talking about the energy, water relationships and so on, and the international struggles or the regional struggles. So that's where that information will come. So I'm trying to say aim number 1 will cover that. And aim number 2 will cover the organizational building. And aim number 3 will cover the prioritization and identification of future work. And we'll also talk about the organizational form. We'll discuss and decide on the organizational form of how the South African Water Caucus should be organized now. I've already kind of went through the program, this one. So now it's your opportunity to say the aims and the expectations that we have are matching.
The South African Water Caucus was established in 2002. Its first meeting was in the same year in Cape Town. Additional meetings are supposed to take place every second year. This year was the 6th biannual general meeting of the caucus in St. Lucia. The participants changed from meeting to meeting, and also different organizations were represented. The places where the meeting were held changed as well. So the second meeting was held 2004 in Johannesburg, the third one 2006 in Zudwala, which is close to Nelspruit, the next one 2008 in Durban. The second last meeting in Coffee Bay was moved because of a few minor problems from 2010 to 2011. Although the main topics was on water, the subtopics were adjusted below the current situation and their current issues. This year the subtopics dealt among others with fracking, coal and the second National Water Resource Strategy.
There was an initiation in Parliament, I think by Contact Trust initially, to try and bring people from around the country to talk to Parliament about water issues. And at the same time there was a whole lot of stuff happening around communities affected by dams with the World Commission on Dams. And these two processes came together and the idea came to form a caucus around water issues that could engage more actively at this massive meeting that was coming to South Africa, the World Summit on Sustainable Development. And the idea was to use that as leverage to get access to our ministers and stuff, because they kept talking about, we're the democracy and we talk to civil society. So we used this big international process to try and organize ourselves and at the same time talk to our national and local, it was more national politicians actually at the time. And from then we used to have regular meetings with the Minister of Water Affairs. So there was quite a strong connection, I think, at that point to some of the national processes and organizations. I think the first meeting was in Cape Town probably in 2001 or maybe early 2002. We tried to have a meeting every year and then it became a biannual general meeting because funding was always difficult and it's hard to bring so many people from around the country into one place. And at the last BGM, as Thabo said, there was an idea to really try and strengthen the provincial work or the work happening locally rather than just this kind of national policy.
And I won't notice when that chair nearly collapsed. Oh, don't sit in that chair. When that chair nearly collapsed earlier, I thought to myself, you know, why is it that we import chairs from China when we have trees all around us that are available that could be used to make very strong chairs? Instead, we export wood chips from Richards Bay in Durban, or we turn it into paper pulp, as you do in Mpumalanga as well, and export it to the east. So the simple answer is, we should be making our own chairs in this country and not importing plastic chairs. That one's different. It's recycled, which is, you know, gives it a few brownie points, but it's not necessarily the right thing to have a plastic chair when we could create local jobs using local materials and something that will not collapse when he sits down. Okay, so that's just a small example. If one takes that a little bit further, if you sort of start putting yourself in a position of being a decision maker, you have to think about what is best for the local people. So if mining is polluting our water, we have to find an alternative land use, an alternative job creation opportunity that will not poison people and pollute the water. So we need, as NGO people, to start thinking about solutions as well as dwelling on the problem. We need to find these alternatives that we can put together strong proposals, as with your organisation, strong proposals that make sense, that can be taken to the very top if necessary, even if it means going internationally to look for support for these proposals. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Furthermore, delegates from each province presented at the meeting their short reports on the different water-related projects in small groups. They share information with representatives from other provinces and also to tell about their problems to enable them to work more efficiently. After these presentations, an open discussion started with some suggestions. All groups changed every 15 minutes so that all people had the chance to discuss and share their own experience and to look forward to find solution proposals on every topic together.
You know, and you still have 5 homes using 1 tap. You still have people having to walk for a distance for just to get to a bath.
But one of the few people who actually spoke and were articulate were people who've been trained through the user platforms. So I was quite impressed by that. Like, it was suddenly the people who were actually standing up asking questions instead of just sitting there having this information thrown at them.
It would be really interesting to know that the municipality undertook to do the civic education and to have a relationship with civil society. So that
well, as Mazur said, I mean, after this little mini dialogue with the city, the city officials won't even give us information. They refuse to talk to us, or only talk to the councillors. So they've been given the instruction from on high not to speak to real people.
We spoke of 5 families using 1 bathroom and 5 families using 1 tap. So have you had time to speak to the municipality and see if they can maybe increase the number of taps that we have around, or maybe they would like to do that?
The biggest challenge with coal mining is like it's moving down to the rural areas, whereby the rural areas it doesn't have any information on how to deal with the mining companies. So it has been difficult for communities, but with the help, as I'm saying, with the help of the Mpumalanga Water Focus and GSP, we've been able to challenge some of the issues, whereby we were able to win the case. The mining that we're fighting with in the commerce, they have been charged and they've been fined.
An average country can use at least 25 liters a day. And you can just imagine, for those of you who knows Maripscope, because it's planted, it's millions and millions of countries planted. So you can just imagine if one tree can take at least a minimum number of liters that it could serve in a medium or whatsoever grown tree. But a bigger tree can go into hundreds of liters a day.
at some point, I'm not sure when was it, but I'm sure Philip you can know about it. There was a time where there were lots of crocodiles, and crocodiles are the most stubborn animals in the world. But we had cases where crocodiles were dying in the Kruger National Park.
My place is a compost, you know. I'm staying at Emalahleni. The name on its own is spelled Emalahleni, the place for coal, you know. It's a compost heap, you see. So, but I'm going to just strictly underline something on AND, acid mine drainage. The brother has said, last year the Ministry of Environmental Affairs outlined the high field as a priority area, meaning that all PM10 level, sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, all the levels of greenhouse gases have exceeded exceedances. So when they present them onto us, we see only exceedances. You see. So it has been declined as a priority area.
So as traditional healers, we have started, this year we started from 13 March until 7 August. 3 days a week we volunteer to clean the stream, but the challenge is that you clean today, then tomorrow when you go there, you find there is something.
After all these discussions about projects and provinces, the cookers turned back to the plenum, where 3 persons held presentations about current water-related issues. The moderators were well informed on the topic because it's the main task in the organization. The interesting presentations were followed by enthusiastically and fruitful discussions. The first presentations was about the new method to extract gas from porous stones called fracking and was held by Mary Galvin. She explained the process of fracking and also pointed out some main problems. After that, Little Steele presented water problems which are related to coal mining. Later on, the second National Water Resource Strategy was introduced by Jessica Wilson to the cookers.
But one of the things I wanted to bring here was about fracking, because we all know about the fracking struggle in the Karoo, but now fracking is being proposed and is being explored for all over KwaZulu-Natal, the Berg, on the Mozambican border. If you look at the map of South Africa, it's basically all over. It'll be 6 out of 8 provinces that get explored for fracking. So this is something really serious that if you don't know about, you know, it's shooting toxic chemicals into the rock, into the earth, that then splits and pollutes the water and the groundwater, and there's no way out. It's really an ugly business.
So they drill deep down underneath those layers, and there they inject these chemicals which then expand. And in that expansion it cracks the rocks to release the gas, the small trapped bubbles of gas. But there's been a long debate about the industry saying no, but those chemicals will never leach through to the top again. But now it's been proven that it does. So it is in fact a very, 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 very dangerous thing for groundwater.
There are few issues that are as deeply connected as water and energy. Without water, we cannot have energy production. But without energy, we cannot get water services to people's homes. But at the moment, we are using coal to create our electricity in South Africa. What that means is that we're actually burning coal to produce steam to turn the turbines in the coal-fired power stations to create electricity. The problem with this is that we're essentially burning our waters to produce electricity at the moment. So, and I'm sitting in a room where there's a lot of knowledge about water, so if I say anything that's incorrect, please do tell me. But we're living in a country where the Department of Water Affairs is projecting huge water scarcity in the future. They're saying that our supply of water is not going to meet the demand. And that means that the availability of water, so do we have enough water, but also the allocation of water, so where are we choosing to give the water to, are 2 very important issues.
This National Water Resources Strategy is also coming out of our National Water Act. So we've got
two pieces of legislation that relate to water. One is called the National Water Act, and the other is called the National Water Services Act. And there's a movement at the moment to combine these two. Who knows the difference between water resources and water services? How they're used in the policy arena? Do you know what those words mean? Little bit. So the resources are the rivers, the wetlands, the groundwater, the rain, and the services are how water is delivered to people's households. Yeah. So those are currently two. So this strategy comes from the Water Resources Act, but it starts talking a little bit about services, much more than the previous water resources strategy did.
At this meeting of the South African water cookers, a few things were discussed that should be done until the next meeting. In the whole history of the SAWC weren't any formal elections. Only a few people met in order to organize the biannual general meetings. In this meeting in St. Lucia, a committee of coordinators was established. A really nice thing of the water cookers is that nobody is above each other. Another point is that a database of all members should be founded so that you can see exactly who belongs to the cookers and who not. Everything has to be more official. For that, it is necessary that an organization which wants to join the cookers has to sign a membership to accept all the rules. A new list with the principles should be written and should be a living document. In the past, there was set up a mailing list which is managed by Gearsphere. This is the strongest thing the cookers has got. Sometimes there are coming really nice articles and interesting questions which can be discussed there. It is the main way of communication between the quite large ranges of comrades. There should be more provincial cookerses. In Mpumalanga and the Western Cape, the cookers was already established. In the Eastern Cape, there are already the main structures, but in the other provinces is nothing. They should be led and organized by the national cookers.
What we thought about, just as a suggestion, was that in Mpumalanga, with the Mpumalanga water cookers, then we have at least yearly meetings of the water cookers in Mpumalanga. And it's during one of those meetings that a legitimate committee was elected from the attendees at that meeting. And the requirement was that attendees should be from all over the province, from all the different regions. And I think the different regions, as I remember correctly, December and Thelma, that the different regions was split into their own little groups, and they had to appoint a coordinator for their specific region or district. And then the provincial coordinator was elected from the group, which is Thelma Nkosi. And December was appointed the government liaison person on the steering committee or on the committee of the Mpumalanga water cookers.
What I want to say is that takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of energy and a lot of money, and it's important. It can be very important, and it can work. But for structures that don't have a lot of full-time people or money, or there are other ways to do it too. And there's a difference between representing and being representative, right? At some stage, after 4 of your 5 provinces, sub-regions, raise the same issues, you can somehow know that these are the key issues. You don't have to go and talk to every single person to know that these are important issues.
And I think that has made the Mpumalanga water cookers quite strong. And similar processes have happened in other provinces, for instance in the Western Cape. And in the Western Cape, the Western Cape water cookers is also relatively strong, or quite significantly strong. And perhaps the reasons is that EMG is based in the Western Cape, so it's easier to facilitate the process there. And Gearsphere is based in Mpumalanga, so it's easier to facilitate the process in Mpumalanga for us. There has been a sort of a suggestion that there could be similar processes in the other provinces with the capacity to launch those processes. I mean, it's not too expensive to have a small provincial meeting, just a one-day, half-day meeting, where some issues can be discussed and a representative elected to be on the committee.
In amongst the members here, there are people dealing with specific local projects like vegetable gardening or sanitation at the local level, that sort of thing. And I think they have a lot of common concerns and issues that they can share. Okay. Whereas those of us who are engaging with sort of national organizations or even regionally can also learn from each other in a way that enhances our work in terms of how effective we are. I'm not saying that we mustn't share at all those different levels, but when I go away from here, I'd like to know that I've connected with people from the provinces, from NGOs, who are working on similar issues to my organisation, so that afterwards, in the next 2 years, I can connect with those people and we can share information and work towards a common goal in terms of what's happening at a country-wide level. Whereas those people who are working with local projects, I think would like to be able to go back to their communities and say, we found a new way of doing things, we can apply this, different contacts we've got for funding, etc., etc., etc. I hope that makes sense.
The way we are going to do this is very simple and it's going to take very little time.
Okay.
Now, what I'm going to give you a question at a time, one question that you must discuss in your table.
All right.
And then once we have discussed that question in your table, everyone you have reflected on that particular question, December, you here. Once I've given that question and then you discuss, everyone have a contribution, and then you'll give like a kind of a collective response to that particular question.
It was the sharing and learning from the provincial reports, and then also we spoke about the discussion that we had on structure of how the caucus should move to the future.
Our group found the importance of the environment, especially for Rusisi, who works with traditional healers and who is a traditional healer, and also has a problem with the fact that he found that these alien plants that are found in our environment are a problem. One other aspect that was found very important from our table is that leaders should learn to be reliable and practice what they preach henceforth. And when you say something, rather say it in a manner that is honest, so that at the end of the day it doesn't come back to bite you. Thank you.
We have learned that it's not too late to make a change in South Africa, in Africa, globally. We have learned that simplicity is the best mechanism to can make a change. We have learned that we need to be educated, to be capacitated, so that we can capacitate and educate others, again by simplifying mechanism or strategies or what. Exactly. Yes, I thank you.
I think from our group we agreed that we go away from this meeting feeling positive and sort of energized and full of hope for the potential of this network to become really strong and functional and viable and alive. And I think what we're going to do about it is we commit to working in our provinces on a regional level to strengthen the grassroots in the regions,
because I think that is where the strength of the provincial caucuses would lie. Thanks.
Yeah, Moti. Which one?